Well, viewers, it's the 3rd of July and welcome to rainy season in Japan. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you viewers are aware, a lot of Tosai and Nisai start going into the mud ponds at the end of March, and basically towards the tail end of April you'll find that most fish will be in the mud pond for the summer season. And it doesn't all kind of kick off quite as you would expect it to. Insofar as the fish go into the mud pond, the water temperatures at that point in time will probably be in the region of say 16 through to 18 degrees Celsius, and consequently the growing season itself doesn't really start straight away, and in actual fact far from it, because not long after they go into the mud pond you then hit rainy season, which in this case this year started about 2 weeks ago, and you can see what it's all about. I mean, sometimes rainy season can be particularly heavy rain, but for the most part you've got like a day of rain, a day of maybe clouds, the following day it's raining again, or maybe for a few days, but it's been pretty consistent for the last couple of weeks, and we've got now, I would say, another 2 weeks or so of rainy season, and it's after that period of time that the water temperatures then start to come up, because that's when the real summer actually begins. So really, just assuming that rainy season finishes in a couple of weeks time, still the water temperatures won't be that hot, but the ambient temperatures and sunshine will be. That's when the proper summer really starts, and because of that, the next couple of weeks afterwards, so let's say by the end of July, the actual water temperatures will start coming up to sensible growing temperatures. And by sensible I mean temperatures of say 22, 23 degrees and upwards. And you'll find that deeper mud ponds that older fish are put into usually won't reach such high temperatures. They'll stay a little bit cooler, but shallower mud ponds, let's say 2 meters or so, which younger fish will get put into, those ponds will run higher water temperatures, which really are suited to younger fish that can cope with lower oxygen levels of those higher temperatures, which this summer might be perhaps, well, 28, 29 degrees, something like that. You'll see the temperatures get up to. Fry ponds, the other hand, will only be sort of 60, 80 centimetres deep, and fry ponds will run quite easily 30 degrees of temperature in that hot summer season. But mud ponds like this one here, you can see, this pond, it should run 24, 25, 26 degrees, tail end of July running through into August, and it will be the August and September months that will be the main part of the summer growing season. Getting tongue-tied there. But yeah, so in Japan, contrary to the popular belief of the fish going into the mud pond and having 6 months of summer, it's not really the case. It is really all condensed into the 3 months that are July, August, September, or really the second half of July running through until mid-October. So it's like a 3-month time span. So that's when the fish really will pack on most of their growth. Now, if you've been watching Facebook lately as well, you will see that I've been playing around with one of the ponds here in Japan, and the idea really being is to alter one of the concrete ponds to my way of thinking, adding a little bit more modern technology and basically having a play with trying to raise a few parent fish. Now, it's not for anything else other than an actual exercise for my benefit to understand what's going on in regards to lighting and ambient temperatures, and those ambient temperatures effect on the pond temperatures. Because we say that, you know, in Japan people take things for granted as to how the mud ponds are, how the fish grow and so on, but in reality, whilst their temperatures might lend themselves to the fish growing very well and having a good growing season, in actual fact the one thing they're not in such good control of is how high those temperatures go and how much light the fish are actually exposed to. In the case of a mud pond, the light side of it's fine, because as you can see, the water's not very clear and the fish aren't stupid. When it's a really hot summer's day, they'll start off at the top in the morning feeding at the surface, and when the sunlight gets too intense and the temperatures get really hot on the surface, the fish aren't daft, they'll go down and they'll get away with it, so, or get away from it, should I say. So during the course of high noon, if you like, and afternoon, the fish really in a mud pond are nowhere to be seen because they're going down to get away from the heat and the temperature. Now, in the UK, typically speaking, we would heat our ponds up to maybe 22, 24 degrees, something like that, to try and get a really good growing result through the summer. But in the case of concrete ponds, in a fish house in Japan, it's not a case of having to heat the pond up, it's a question really of controlling how high the temperatures go. So what I'm doing with this pond in this fish house is to try and get an idea of how high those temperatures go and how much light the fish are getting during the summer days, if you like. I've done a lot of testing of light in the UK and light in Japan because I thought that maybe the sun in Japan was more intense and that's why the climate's generally hotter in summer, but in actual fact it's not really the case. The summer in Japan, as far as sun levels go, I think isn't too dissimilar from the UK. But I think here in this particular area, I think the air itself is clearer. There's less haze or less PM 2.5, as the Japanese call it, which is smog, if you like, in layman's terms. So this area's got less of that. So it's slightly brighter because the actual air is clearer, the sky is clearer in this area. But the sun levels itself aren't really too dissimilar to the UK. But what is, I think, is dissimilar is that the quantity of sun that the fish are getting day after day is different to the UK. I think during the summer months, from mid-July onwards in Japan, you've got not longer days, there's actually slightly shorter days in the UK, but what you have got are more consistent days of sunshine. So it's, whilst the intensity might be the same as the UK, the quantity is more. Consequently, what I'm trying to do is to use some aluminized shading, greenhouse shading, which actually comes to Sweden, a company called Snaden, and to use that to actually shade the fish house, but to try and find out just how much I need to do it in order to keep the temperatures down to where I want them to be. Because without shading, or with the usual plastic second layer of polythene in a fish house, you would see that temperatures are quite easily get up to say 29, 30 degrees, maybe even 31 in the summer, which frankly is too high for raising koi. So the aluminized film that I'm putting up basically allows a lot of the hot air to escape, and then the roof of the fish house opens as well. So the hot air itself can breathe and go through the aluminized shading, but the aluminized parts actually reflect the sunlight back out of the fish house. So I'm hoping that with that I can get a good grip on just how easily I can control the temperatures and keep the temperatures where I want them to be. But it's a little bit of trial and error. The shading I've bought is 65% shading. I think it's going to be about right, but for the particular fish house that I'm putting it on, the roof itself I think is a little bit dirty, the outside of the roof. Consequently, maybe that will restrict the light a little bit more than I expected it to initially, but time will tell really with that side of it. But all of this exercise really is about trying to give me a head start on what I'm going to need to do on our own ponds, so that through next year, rather than having a year of trial and error and testing, effectively I would have already cut my teeth and got to grips with it over here to a large part before embarking on doing the same thing with our own ponds. So, like I say, time will tell. The next 3 months will show just how good a job perhaps I've done of trying to raise the koi my way, and also how good a job I've done of trying to understand the control, the temperatures, and keep the temperatures down somewhere reasonable. So it's going to be an interesting one, and it's also an exciting one for me personally, because to me this is almost like having my own collection of koi, having my own pond to play around with, to keep me occupied and give me that koi fix, as it were. So a little bit more fun than just sitting down and doing videos like this one today, but there you go. So I'll keep you posted. We'll do more vlogs from time to time, and tomorrow I should hopefully, or we should be putting parent koi into this pond, and that I'll be running, and tomorrow is going to be an interesting one, exciting day, so watch this space and we'll see how everything goes. Thanks for watching.